The Kepler mining station orbited the gas giant Terminus 7, like a metallic moon, its industrial arms extending deep into the planet's resource-rich rings. Captain Sarah Chen watched through the observation deck as another cargo hauler departed, its belly full of rare minerals that would fund humanity's expansion into the Outer Rim territories. Everything seemed routine until the proximity alarms began shrieking across the station. "Contact bearing 27 Mark IV, Lieutenant Rodriguez called out from the sensor station. "Multiple signatures, unknown configuration." Sarah's stomach dropped. They were 3 weeks out from the nearest human military installation, with nothing but mining equipment and a handful of security shuttles for protection. The station housed 12,000 civilians, mostly families of the mining crews who had made this remote outpost their home. The main display flickered to life, showing sleek vessels emerging from the shadow of Terminus 7's largest moon. The ships moved with predatory grace, their hulls reflecting no light, as if they absorbed the very darkness of space itself. Sarah had seen the classified briefings about first contact protocols, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. "They're hailing us," Communications Officer Park announced, his voice tight with tension. On screen. The alien that appeared before them defied every Hollywood imagination. The Zephyrian commander stood nearly 8 feet tall, with elongated limbs that moved with mechanical precision. Its skin appeared metallic, shifting between silver and deep blue, while 6 eyes arranged in a hexagonal pattern focused on Sarah with unsettling intensity. "Human settlement," the alien spoke through a translation device, its voice carrying harmonic undertones that made the bridge crew uncomfortable. "You have established unauthorized presence in Zephyrian territorial space. Evacuation will commence immediately." Sarah stepped forward, fighting to keep her voice steady. "This system isn't claimed by any known species. We've been operating here under standard colonization protocols for 18 months. The Zephyrian's head tilted at an impossible angle. "Your protocols are irrelevant. This system belongs to the Zephyrian hegemony by right of ancient passage. You have 36 of your time units to begin evacuation procedures." "We have 12,000 people here," Sarah protested. "Families. Children, we need more time to coordinate safe transport." "Time allocation is non-negotiable. Compliance ensures survival. Resistance ensures elimination." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Sarah looked around at her crew, seeing her own fear reflected in their faces. The Zephyrian fleet had positioned itself between the station and any possible escape route, their weapons clearly visible and charged. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command," Sarah ordered. "Emergency priority." While Park worked to establish the connection, Sarah's mind raced through their limited options. The mining station had defensive capabilities, but they were designed to ward off pirates and raiders, not face a technologically superior alien fleet. Their security shuttles carried basic plasma weapons that might as well be slingshots against the Zephyrian vessels. Admiral Hayes appeared on the communication screen 47 minutes later, his weathered face grim with the weight of first contact protocols. "Captain Chen, we've been monitoring the situation. A relief fleet is being assembled, but they won't reach you for 6 days minimum." "We have less than 36 hours, sir." "I understand. We're exploring diplomatic channels, but—" Hayes paused, choosing his words carefully. "You need to prepare for the possibility that evacuation may be your only option." Sarah felt the weight of 12,000 lives pressing down on her shoulders. "Sir, what about the Johannesburg incident? The mining crews there developed some unconventional defense strategies when they faced the asteroid pirates last year." Hayes leaned forward, intrigued. "Explain." "They used their industrial equipment offensively. Mining lasers, cargo haulers, even the processing plants became weapons. These aliens might have superior military technology, but they've probably never faced industrial-grade mining equipment used creatively. That's a hell of a gamble, Captain. It's better than surrender, sir. After Hayes signed off, Sarah called an emergency meeting with her senior staff and the mining operations supervisors. Chief Engineer Marcus Webb spread the station's schematics across the conference table, his calloused hands tracing the various industrial systems. "The main deep core drill is our biggest asset," Webb explained. "It's designed to penetrate planetary crusts, powered by a controlled fusion reactor. The thing can punch through solid rock like it's butter." "But it's stationary," objected Security Chief Martinez, mounted to the station's central hub. Webb grinned, the expression transforming his usually serious face. "Not necessarily. The drill assembly is modular. With some creative engineering, we could detach the primary boring unit and mount it on one of the heavy cargo haulers." "You want to turn a mining drill into a weapon?" Dr. Yates, the station's chief scientist, looked skeptical. "Not just a weapon," Sarah said, understanding beginning to dawn. "A delivery system. Marcus, what would happen if that drill hit one of their ships?" "Well, ma'am, that drill is designed to cut through materials under extreme pressure and temperature. It rotates at 1500 RPM and can generate focused plasma jets hot enough to melt titanium alloys. If it made contact with a ship's hull, it would go right through," Martinez finished, his tactical mind already working through the implications. Dr. Yates pulled up holographic displays showing the Zephyrian vessel configurations captured by their sensors. Their ships appear to be built for speed and maneuverability. The hull construction seems lightweight, probably relying on energy shields for protection. "Shields that are designed to deflect energy weapons and projectiles," Sarah mused. "But what about a physical drilling mechanism that's designed to adapt to whatever material it encounters?" The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The Zephyrians had clearly studied human military capabilities and prepared accordingly, but they had no data on human industrial equipment being used offensively. More importantly, they had no understanding of human creativity when faced with impossible odds. "We'll need to modify the cargo hauler's maneuvering systems," Webb continued. "Install additional thrusters for combat maneuverability. The drill itself will need magnetic grappling systems to ensure it maintains contact with target hulls." "How long?" Sarah asked. 18 hours if we push the crews to their limits." Sarah looked around the table at the determined faces of her people. They were miners, engineers, and scientists, not soldiers. But they were human, and humans had a long history of turning the tools of peace into instruments of war when survival was at stake. "Do it," she decided. "And Marcus, don't stop with just one drill." Over the next several hours, the mining station transformed into a hive of frantic activity. Engineering teams worked around the clock to modify cargo haulers into drill-equipped attack craft. The main deep-core drill was carefully detached and mounted on the station's largest transport vessel, while smaller tunnel-boring units were fitted to mining shuttles. As the modifications progressed, Sarah found herself standing in the observation deck again, watching the Zephyrian fleet maintain their blockade. Their ships moved in precise formations, probably following tactical doctrines developed over centuries of warfare. They had no way of knowing that the humans they threatened were about to introduce a completely new variable into the equation. The countdown timer showed 8 hours remaining when the first modified hauler completed its trials. The massive vessel, now bristling with additional thrusters and guidance systems, carried the main drilling apparatus like a medieval lance. Its pilot, a veteran cargo runner named Jake Kowalski, had volunteered despite having no combat experience. "Remember," Sarah told him over the comm, "you only get one pass. Make it count." "Copy that, Captain. Let's see how these aliens like a taste of good old-fashioned human ingenuity." As Sarah watched Jake's modified hauler move into position, she couldn't help but smile grimly. The Zephyrians had made one critical mistake in their assessment of human capabilities. They had assumed that humans would respond to superior technology with conventional military tactics. They had no understanding of humanity's greatest weapon, the ability to look at any tool and imagine how it could be used to solve an impossible problem. The real battle was about to begin, and the Zephyrians were about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous humans weren't the ones with the biggest guns, but the ones with the biggest drills. The timer reached 0 while Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, watching the Zephyrian fleet begin their approach. Their ships moved with mechanical precision, maintaining perfect formation as they closed the distance to Kepler Mining Station. Every tactical simulation she had ever studied suggested this would be a massacre. Incoming transmission from the Zephyrian flagship, Communications Officer Park announced. The same elongated alien commander appeared on screen, its 6 eyes focusing on Sarah with what she interpreted as impatience. "Human Administrator, your evacuation procedures are incomplete. Our sensors detect only 17 vessels departing your installation. Compliance deadline has expired." "We need more time," Sarah replied, though her heart wasn't really in the negotiation. "Some of our people are trapped in the lower mining levels. Rescue operations are still underway." The Zephyrian's head performed that unsettling mechanical tilt again. "Acceptable casualties are calculated at 0.03% of total population. Current evacuation rate exceeds required survival parameters. Hostile action will commence in 60 seconds. Sarah felt a cold smile cross her face. "You know what your problem is? You think like a computer instead of thinking like a human." Clarification unnecessary. Countdown initiated. The transmission ended, and Sarah turned to her tactical officer. "Martinez, give me station-wide communication." When the channel opened, Sarah's voice echoed through every corridor and compartment of Kepler Station. "All mining crews, this is Captain Chen. Today we face an enemy that believes superior technology guarantees victory. They've calculated our capabilities based on our military assets and found us wanting. What they haven't calculated is human stubbornness, human creativity, and human refusal to go quietly into that good night. All modified craft, launch when ready. Show these aliens what happens when they threaten our families." Jake Kowalski was the first to launch from Bay 7. His massive cargo hauler now transformed into something that defied every military manual ever written. The deep-core drilling assembly extended from his ship's prow like the horn of some mechanical beast, its plasma-tipped bit already spinning at operational speed. Behind him, 6 smaller mining shuttles emerged from various docking bays, each carrying tunnel-boring equipment that had been hastily weaponized. "This is Digger 1. Jake announced over the tactical channel, using the call sign they had chosen for the primary drilling vessel. "Systems green, drill operational. Let's go knock on their door." The Zephyrian formation immediately responded to the launching craft, but their tactical computers struggled to categorize the threat. The vessels didn't match any known human military configurations, and their approach vectors seemed almost suicidal. "Digger 6 to all units," called Maria Santos, piloting one of the shuttle-mounted borers. "These alien ships are moving like they're expecting us to engage at long range with energy weapons." She was right. The Zephyrian vessels had arranged themselves in a defensive formation, optimized for deflecting projectiles and absorbing energy weapon impacts. Their sleek hulls were angled to redirect plasma bolts, and their energy shields flickered with anticipation of conventional human weapons. Jake pushed his modified hauler to maximum acceleration, the fusion reactor screaming as it channeled power to both the engines and the drilling assembly. The Zephyrians opened fire with precise energy bolts, but their targeting systems were calibrated for military vessels moving in predictable patterns. Jake's unwieldy cargo hauler, never designed for combat maneuvers, moved in ways that confounded their tactical computers. "Incoming plasma cannon fire," Jake reported calmly, rolling his massive vessel in a maneuver that should have been impossible given its size and configuration. These boys shoot pretty, but they're aiming where they think I should be, not where I am. The first Zephyrian energy bolt passed harmlessly through the space Jake's hauler had occupied a split second earlier. The second shot clipped his starboard thruster array, sending sparks cascading across his hull, but the heavily reinforced mining vessel absorbed the damage without critical system failure. Meanwhile, the smaller drilling shuttles spread out in an apparently random pattern, each pilot using their intimate knowledge of asteroid mining techniques to navigate the battlefield. These weren't military pilots trained in formation flying and tactical doctrine. These were miners who had spent years threading their ships through asteroid fields and debris clouds, guided by instinct and experience rather than computer-calculated flight paths. "Digger 3 engaging enemy vessel on port approach," announced Chen Wei, a tunnel specialist who had joined the station crew only 6 months earlier. His shuttle, equipped with a modified Bohr-class excavator, accelerated toward a Zephyrian frigate that was attempting to establish a firing solution on Jake's primary assault. The alien vessel's defensive systems engaged automatically, energy shields flaring as they anticipated projectile or energy weapon contact. But Chen's drilling shuttle struck the shield perimeter and simply kept going. The industrial boring equipment, designed to cut through whatever material it encountered, treated the energy shield like another form of rock strata to be penetrated. "Holy stars," Chen breathed over the comm. "The drill just went right through their shield. It's adapting to the energy matrix like its mineral composite." The Zephyrian frigate's hull offered no more resistance than the shield had. The tunnel boring equipment, spinning at industrial speeds and guided by precision navigation systems, punched through the alien vessel's outer armor like it was tissue paper. Chen's shuttle emerged from the other side of the ship, leaving a perfectly circular hole that immediately began venting atmosphere and internal components into space. On the Zephyrian flagship, Commander Zekhan watched the tactical display with growing confusion. The enemy vessels weren't behaving according to any recorded combat doctrine. Their approach patterns seemed random. Their weapon systems were completely unknown, and their apparent disregard for defensive fire suggested either supreme confidence or complete tactical inexperience. "Analysis," Zekhan demanded from the tactical computer. "Enemy craft configuration does not match known human military specifications. Weapon systems appear to be modifications of industrial equipment. Current threat assessment, inconclusive." This was impossible. The Zephyrian hegemony had studied human combat capabilities extensively through intercepted communications and observation of their conflicts with various pirate factions. Humans relied on projectile weapons, energy cannons, and explosive devices. They fought at long range when possible, using speed and maneuverability to compensate for inferior technology. These vessels were doing none of those things. They were closing to what could only be described as melee range, apparently intent on making physical contact with Zephyrian ships. No sapient species had attempted such a primitive tactic in over 1,000 years. "Frigate Veltar is reporting catastrophic hull breach," the tactical officer announced. "Enemy weapon appears to be some form of rotating penetrator that bypassed all defensive systems." Zekhan's elongated fingers danced across the command interface, pulling up detailed sensor readings of the human attack. The weapon that had destroyed Veltar was indeed a rotating mechanism, but it operated on principles that defied every tactical database in Zephyrian memory. It didn't explode on contact, didn't discharge energy on impact, and didn't fragment into smaller projectiles. It simply drilled. "Commander, Destroyer Kixmol is under attack by multiple enemy units." The main display showed Jake's massive drilling hauler approaching the destroyer's flank, while two smaller shuttles moved to intercept the ship's defensive response. The destroyer's captain was clearly experienced, maneuvering his vessel to keep the strange human attackers at a distance while maintaining optimal firing angles. But the humans weren't cooperating with established tactical doctrine. Instead of maintaining formation, they scattered in 3 dimensions, each pilot apparently making independent decisions about approach vectors and attack timing. The destroyer's targeting systems, calibrated for coordinated military assault patterns, struggled to establish firing solutions on vessels that seemed to operate without any central command structure. "This is insane," Jake muttered over the comm as he dodged another energy bolt. "They're shooting at where their computers think I should go, not where I'm actually going. Maria, can you swing around and hit their port engine cluster?" "Already on it, Digger 1. These aliens fight like they've never seen mining equipment before." And that, Sarah realized as she watched from the station's bridge, was exactly the problem the Zephyrians faced. They had prepared for war against humanity's military, not against humanity's civilians, armed with industrial tools and a complete disregard for conventional tactics. Jake's drilling hauler finally reached optimal range, the massive bore assembly spinning up to full operational speed. The destroyer Kixmol's captain, recognizing the imminent threat, attempted an emergency maneuver that would have been effective against any conventional weapon. The deep-core drilling system, however, was designed to track geological formations through planetary rotation and seismic activity. The destroyer's evasive action was insignificant compared to the environmental challenges the drill was built to handle. "Contact," Jake announced with satisfaction as his drilling assembly struck the destroyer's hull. The alien vessel's armor, designed to deflect energy weapons and absorb kinetic impacts, provided no defense against a tool specifically engineered to cut through the hardest materials in the universe. The drill punched through the outer hull, through the inner pressure barriers, through structural supports and internal bulkheads, creating a shaft of destruction that traveled the entire length of the destroyer before emerging from the opposite side. Secondary explosions erupted along the drill's path as it severed power conduits, fuel lines, and critical ship systems. "Destroyer Kixmol has been eliminated," the Zephyrian tactical officer reported, his harmonic voice carrying notes of disbelief. Commander Zekhan stared at the tactical display, watching his carefully planned formation dissolve under assault from weapons that shouldn't exist. These humans weren't fighting a war. They were performing an industrial operation that happened to be taking place in space, and his fleet, trained for military engagement, had no protocols for defending against construction equipment operated by civilian contractors who apparently considered alien warships to be just another form of difficult terrain to excavate. "Signal retreat to the outer perimeter," Zekhan commanded. "We need to reassess the tactical situation." As the remaining Zephyrian vessels pulled back to a safer distance, Sarah Chen allowed herself a moment of triumph. The improvised drilling attack had worked beyond their wildest hopes, but she knew this was only the beginning. The aliens would adapt to their new tactics, and humanity would need to stay one step ahead if they hoped to survive the coming battle. Commander Zekhan floated in his command chamber aboard the flagship Eternal Dominance, his 6 eyes studying tactical displays that made no logical sense. 3 hours had passed since the human mining station had launched its impossible assault, and his fleet had retreated to what should have been a safe distance. Yet the humans showed no signs of pursuing their advantage, content to maintain defensive positions around their installation. "Analysis complete, Commander," reported Senior Tactician Mordan. "The human weapon systems are indeed modified industrial equipment. Deep core drilling mechanisms, tunnel boring devices, and material processing units have been adapted for combat applications." Zekhan's elongated fingers traced patterns of confusion across his command interface. "This contradicts every tactical assessment of human capabilities. Our intelligence indicated their military relies on primitive projectile weapons and basic energy systems." That assessment remains accurate, Commander. However, these are not military personnel. Sensor analysis indicates the attacking vessels are crewed by civilian contractors, mining specialists, and industrial engineers. The implications struck Zekhan like a plasma bolt to his consciousness. The Zephyrian hegemony had spent cycles preparing for war against humanity's armed forces, studying their tactics, their weapons, their strategic doctrines. They had never considered the possibility that humans might arm their civilians with industrial equipment and send them into battle with no formal military training whatsoever. "Sir," communications specialist Yilneth interrupted, "we're receiving a transmission from the human installation." Captain Sarah Chen appeared on the main display, her expression calm despite the debris field of destroyed Zephyrian vessels floating between her station and the alien fleet. Behind her, Zekhan could see the bustling activity of a mining operation that had seamlessly transformed into a military installation. "Commander," Sarah began, "I believe we need to discuss terms." Zekhan straightened in his command harness. "Humans do not dictate terms to the Zephyrian hegemony. Your primitive tactics may have achieved temporary success, but our reinforcement fleet will arrive within solar rotations. Your industrial weapons will not prevail against a full military assault." Sarah's smile held no warmth. "I don't think you understand our situation. We're not just miners anymore, Commander. We're problem solvers, and right now, you're our problem." The transmission shifted to show the mining station's loading bays, where Sarah's people were engaged in furious activity. Zekhan watched in growing alarm as massive pieces of industrial equipment were being mounted on every available vessel. The humans had converted their entire mining operation into a weapons manufacturing facility. "You see, Commander," Sarah continued, "when you threatened our families, you made one critical error in judgment. You assumed we would fight you like soldiers. But we're not soldiers. We're engineers, miners, and technicians. We don't fight battles. We solve problems. And the problem is that your ships are still intact." Chief Engineer Marcus Webb appeared beside Sarah, his weathered face split by a confident grin. "We've been studying the sensor data from your vessels, Commander. Beautiful engineering, really. Lightweight construction, advanced materials, sophisticated energy management systems. Unfortunately, they're all optimized for conventional warfare." Webb gestured toward a holographic display showing detailed scans of Zephyrian ship construction. "Your hulls are designed to deflect energy weapons and absorb kinetic impacts, but they're not designed to resist sustained penetration by adaptive cutting tools. It's like building a fortress to withstand cannon fire, then facing an enemy armed with precision mining equipment. We've identified 17 different drill configurations that can be adapted for ship-to-ship combat," Sarah added. "Our tunnel borers can create entry points for boarding parties. Our deep-core drills can sever your ships in half. Our material processors can actually digest your hull plating and convert it into raw materials for our manufacturing systems." Zekhan felt something he had never experienced in 3 decades of military service: tactical helplessness. The humans weren't just using unexpected weapons, they were using tools specifically designed to overcome the exact materials and construction techniques that made Zephyrian vessels superior to conventional military hardware. "But here's what really concerns me," Sarah continued. "Our long-range scanners show your reinforcement fleet maintaining standard military formations, energy weapons, projectile systems, conventional tactical doctrines. They're preparing to fight a war against our military, just like you did." The transmission shifted again, showing the modified cargo haulers and mining shuttles now deployed around Kepler Station. But these weren't the same vessels that had engaged the Zephyrian fleet hours earlier. Each ship had been further modified, equipped with additional drilling systems, cutting tools, and what appeared to be material processing equipment. "The thing about mining equipment," Webb explained, "is that it's designed to be modular. Interchangeable components, standardized interfaces, rapid reconfiguration capabilities. We can adapt our tools to handle any material composition, any structural configuration, any defensive system. It's what we do. Jake Kowalski's voice joined the transmission from his modified hauler. Commander, I've been cutting through rock and metal for 23 years. Your ships are just another form of mineral deposit as far as I'm concerned. And I've never met a deposit I couldn't crack. Zekhan realized he was witnessing something unprecedented in Zephyrian military history. The humans hadn't just repurposed their industrial equipment for combat, they had weaponized their entire approach to problem solving. They were treating interstellar warfare like an engineering challenge, applying the same methodical creativity they used to extract resources from hostile environments. Sir, Mordan whispered urgently, our tactical computers cannot generate defensive protocols for this type of engagement. The enemy weapons adapt to whatever defensive measures we implement. They're treating our ships like geological formations to be excavated. The scope of the problem became clear to Zekhan as he studied his tactical displays. The Zephyrian military doctrine was based on centuries of warfare against civilizations that fought with conventional weapons according to established tactical principles. They had never encountered an enemy that treated military engagement as an industrial process. We've prepared a demonstration, Sarah announced, to help you understand our capabilities. One of the larger mining vessels, equipped with what appeared to be a massive material processing system, approached the wreckage of the destroyer Kiksmol. Zekhan watched in fascination and horror as the industrial equipment began systematically dismantling the destroyed ship, separating its various components and feeding them into processing chambers. That's a Class 7 asteroid processor, Webb explained. Normally, we use it to break down mined materials into component elements for manufacturing, but it works just as well on ship hulls, internal systems, and structural components. Within minutes, the destroyed Zephyrian vessel had been completely consumed, transformed into neatly organized containers of refined materials. The humans hadn't just destroyed his ship, they had digested it and converted it into resources for their own use. Now imagine, Sarah said quietly, what happens when our reinforcements arrive. Earth Command is sending a relief fleet, but they're not sending warships. They're sending industrial vessels, mobile refineries, construction platforms, manufacturing ships, an entire industrial fleet equipped with the same adaptive drilling technology we've used here. The implications crashed over Zekhan like a gravitational wave. Humanity's approach to interstellar warfare wasn't military, it was industrial. They didn't seek to defeat their enemies through superior firepower or tactical brilliance. They sought to literally dismantle their opponents and convert them into useful materials. We don't want to destroy you, Commander, Sarah continued. Destruction is wasteful. We want to understand your technology, learn from your engineering, and incorporate your innovations into our own systems. But that requires your cooperation. Dr. Yates appeared on the transmission, her scientific enthusiasm evident despite the military context. Your energy management systems are fascinating. The materials science behind your hull construction could revolutionize our mining operations. We'd like to propose a technological exchange. An exchange? Zekhan managed. Your knowledge and cooperation in return for your lives and freedom, Sarah clarified. We're not conquerors, Commander. We're miners. We're interested in extracting value, not in occupation or domination. Senior tactician Mordan leaned close to Zekhan's command station. Sir, this represents a fundamental paradigm shift. They're not seeking military victory. They're seeking industrial acquisition. Zekhan studied the human captain's face, recognizing something that transcended species boundaries. Sarah Chen was negotiating from a position of strength, but she was also offering genuine opportunity. The humans had demonstrated that conventional military doctrine was useless against their industrial approach to warfare. More importantly, they had shown that their capabilities would only grow as they adapted their tools to new challenges. "What are your terms?" Zekhan asked finally. "Withdrawal from human territorial space, technological exchange protocols, and establishment of trade agreements?" Sarah replied immediately. "We're not interested in your territory, Commander. We're interested in your expertise. There's a big galaxy out there, with enough resources for everyone if we're smart about extraction and processing." "And if we refuse?" Sarah's expression hardened. "Then we treat your ships like any other mineral deposit that needs processing. The choice is yours, Commander, but I should mention that our reinforcement fleet is equipped with industrial-grade equipment designed for processing much larger targets than individual vessels." Zekhan looked around his command chamber at his senior staff, seeing his own realization reflected in their expressions. The humans had fundamentally altered the nature of interstellar conflict. They had turned warfare into mining, treating enemy fleets like resource deposits to be extracted and processed. "Senior Command," Zekhan transmitted to the Hegemony High Fleet. "This is Eternal Dominance requesting immediate strategic consultation. Human combat capabilities require complete tactical doctrine revision. They have weaponized their entire industrial civilization." Hours later, as negotiations continued between the mining station and the Zephyrian fleet, Jake Kowalski sat in his modified hauler, watching alien and human engineers work together to establish communication protocols. The deep-core drilling assembly that had punched through a destroyer's hull now served as a docking point for Zephyrian technical specialists who were eager to examine human adaptive drilling technology. "You know what the funny thing is?" Jake said to Sarah over the comm channel. "We never stopped being miners. We just expanded our definition of what constitutes a workable deposit." Sarah laughed, the sound carrying across the tactical channel where it was recorded by Zephyrian sensors and transmitted back to their military command. In the coming years, that laugh would become famous throughout the galaxy as the moment when a group of civilian miners taught the most sophisticated military forces in known space that the most dangerous humans weren't the ones trained for war, but the ones trained to solve impossible problems with whatever tools they had at hand. The drill that made extraterrestrials reevaluate their whole combat strategy turned out to be more than just a weapon. It was a symbol of humanity's greatest strength, the ability to look at any challenge, any threat, any impossible situation, and find a way to drill right through it.